Imagine walking tanks. Warriors so heavily armored that entire armies break at the sight of them. These are the Terminator squads of the Adeptus Astartes, and when they march, they bring the Emperor's wrath step by step. And among them, none are more disciplined, more unyielding than the Ultramarines Terminators.
Welcome back to Brush and Blood, where Warhammer meets the real world. Today, I'm painting a squad of Ultramarines Terminators icons of the Adeptus Astartes, clad in Tactical Dreadnought Armor. As we layer cerulean blue and polished gold trim, we'll dive into their lore, their role on the battlefield, and the echoes they share with knights, tanks, and the ironclad soldiers of history. Who are the Terminators? Terminator armor, officially called Tactical Dreadnought Armor, is the pinnacle of infantry protection in the Imperium. Only the most battle-hardened veterans earn the right to wear it. Each suit is a relic, some thousands of years old, maintained since the Great Crusade. To don one isn't just a promotion, it's a sacred trust. Terminators serve in the first company of a chapter, the elite among elites. For the Ultramarines, that means veterans who are the very embodiment of the Codex Astartes itself. They are more than shock troops, they are symbols. When Terminators deploy, the message is clear: the chapter is no longer holding back. Fun facts and lore. Here's what makes them stand out. Terminator armor includes teleport homers, letting squads strike from nowhere. Their weapons are iconic. Storm bolters that spit explosive shells like autocannons, power fists that can crush tanks, and chain fists that chew through bulkheads. Their deliberate, unshakable advance is legendary. To an enemy, it feels like trying to stop an avalanche with a handgun. Tabletop tie-in. On the tabletop, Terminators are exactly this: durable, threatening, and a problem your opponent can't ignore. They may be slow, but their presence warps strategy. Every Terminator on the board is pressure made plastic. Here's some Warhammer. Lore: the unstoppable advance. Picture this. Deep in the void, a chaos cruiser known as the Black Maw closes in on an Ultramarine strike force. With a flash of teleport energy, blue armored giants appear in the warship's corridors and Ultramarines Terminator squad. Bolters roar, shredding traitors in a storm of explosive fire. A chain fist screeches as it rips open a bulkhead, venting atmosphere and hurling cultists into the void. Step by step, the Terminators grind toward the bridge. Nothing stops them. Not last cannons, not fire, not desperation. By the time the traitors realize the danger, the bridge belongs to the Emperor. Now imagine another scene. A guard line buckles under a sea of orcs. Just as the defense collapses, thunder cracks and Terminators teleport into the melee. Storm bolters rake through mobs, power fists crush war bosses, and the guard rally around these walking tanks. What was despair becomes hope. The line holds because the unbreakable have arrived. The cost of invincibility, but not every battle ends in triumph. Even the walking tanks of the Adeptus Astartes can fall. During the Horus Heresy, on the blasted moons of Istvan V, loyalist Terminators led the charge against their traitor brothers. They advanced into withering fire, their armor scorched but their spirits unbroken. For hours, they carved through the enemy, each step a thunderclap of defiance. But betrayal runs deep. Surrounded and cut off, entire squads of Imperial Fists and Raven Guard Terminators were overwhelmed. Plasma incinerated them. Chain axes hacked through armor joints. Titans shelled their positions until nothing but broken ceramite remained. Those few who survived were dragged down, torn apart not by Xenos, but by their former brothers. And yet, even in defeat, their sacrifice bought precious time. The line held a little longer. Other forces escaped the slaughter. Their loss became legend, not for victory, but for endurance. The truth is, even Terminators can be destroyed. But their purpose is not just to win, it's to stand, to fight, and to buy the Imperium one more chance. The last stand of the Emperor's vengeance. One of the most famous storied Terminator squads in Imperial records is the Ultramarines Emperor's Vengeance. Veterans of countless wars, they earned their name during the 13th Black Crusade, when Abaddon's forces pushed into the Cadian Gate. The squad was tasked with holding a breached manufactorum while the guard evacuated civilians. For 6 hours, they fought without pause. Storm bolters glowing red, power fists shattering traitor marines, chain fists ripping apart chaos engines. Even when their sergeant, Brother Captain Diodoros, was impaled by a daemon blade, he kept fighting, tearing the daemon apart before collapsing. One by one, the squad fell, but each time, they dragged their killers down with them. By the time Imperial reinforcements reclaimed the site, the Emperor's vengeance was gone. But so were the traitors. The manufactorum still stood, the civilians survived, and the Ultramarines etched the squad's name into the chapter's roll of honor. The tale spread across the guard regiments of Cadia whispered as proof that even against the Black Legion itself, a single Terminator squad could hold back the darkness long enough for the Emperor's light to endure. Real-world parallels knights, tanks, and heavy infantry. Terminators echo history. They're the modern knights in full plate, slow, imposing, unstoppable. Their charge carries more weight in morale than in speed. They're also the first World War I tanks lumbering forward, grinding through trenches, barbed wire, and terror as much as steel. And in today's world, they resemble riot police and breaching teams, armored head to toe to advance where others can't. Picture a medieval battlefield. Exhausted peasants glance up to see armored knights bearing down. The ground shakes, morale collapses, and the outcome is decided before swords clash. That exact collapse of hope is what enemies feel when Terminators step from a teleport flare. Pop culture parallels. You've seen their shadows in fiction. Doomguy, a one-man army in indestructible armor. Halo's Spartan super soldiers wrapped in unstoppable shells. Iron Man's Hulkbuster, a walking tank built to endure punishment. Now flip it into cinema. Imagine aliens, but this time, the Marines aren't fragile. The Xenos swarm through the corridors, hissing and clawing. But waiting for them are Ultramarines Terminators. Storm bolters roar, power fists smash, and the aliens break against an immovable wall. What was once horror becomes grimdark spectacle giants turning terror into ash. Psychology of invincibility. Humanity has always loved the idea of the invincible warrior Achilles striding through Troy, knights in shining plate, superheroes shrugging off bullets. These myths aren't just stories. They're projections of what we wish we could be. Untouchable, unstoppable, immortal in the face of chaos. Terminators take that archetype and drag it into the grimdark future. For allies, their arrival is like the walls of reality being shored up. Despair turns into defiance, courage rises, and men who thought they were doomed suddenly find the will to fight again. For enemies, they are despair given form. Imagine emptying entire clips of Lost Fire into a warrior who doesn't even flinch, then watching him close the distance with storm bolters blazing. They don't just kill, they erase hope in those who stand against them. They remind us of a primal truth. People fear what cannot be stopped, but deep down they also dream of becoming that unstoppable force. Tabletop tie-in. On the board, Terminators embody this psychology perfectly. When they deep strike, the whole dynamic changes. Your opponent can no longer ignore them, they demand attention. Even if they're slow, their presence forces strategy to warp around them. Suddenly, firepower is redirected, screens are built, and objectives are abandoned just to deal with these armored giants. They're not just miniatures. They're pressure, incarnate inevitability you can place exactly where you need it. Every Terminator squad is a walking threat bubble, and your opponent feels it the moment they arrive. That's the true genius of Terminators. Even before they roll a dice, they've already won the psychological battle. In World War I, the first tanks inspired exactly this reaction. Enemy soldiers often dropped weapons and fled rather than fight the iron monsters rolling through no man's land. In World War II, elite shock troops like the German Fallschirmjäger or Soviet Guards were often feared more for their reputation than their numbers. Just hearing they were on the battlefield broke morale. Even modern fear factor weapons, from stealth bombers that can't be seen until the strike lands, to drones that hover silently overhead, reshape the psychology of war. Soldiers don't just fight machines. They fight the dread of inevitability. And here's our finished Ultramarines Terminator squad, walking fortresses, eternal warriors, and proof that sometimes the most terrifying weapon isn't speed or numbers, but inevitability. Next time on Brush and Blood, we'll step into one of Warhammer's most unique stories with Ephriel Stern and Kaiganil, the Saint and the Outcast. A sister of battle touched by destiny, and a wandering harlequin bound together by fate, hunted across the galaxy by demons and prophecy alike. Did you know? Ephriel Stern first appeared in a Warhammer graphic novel back in the early 2000s, long before she had an official miniature. She's one of the few characters in Warhammer who crosses between factions, both hated and revered, both miracle and heresy. Disclaimer: this is for entertainment purposes only. Lore and history details may not be exact, but this is about storytelling, fun, and painting minis. Like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, would you stand shoulder to shoulder with Terminators or run before they arrive? Now let's rate today's episode's model.
Not too bad.